From where we reached yesterday, do you have any question? We checked on how we define or create the primary ledger. We created our primary ledger, but we never finished. So that's what we are taking up today's session. We create the primary ledger. We create the legal entity, as well as assign legal entity to the primary ledger. So far, is there any question?
No question.
So that we can take over on our, just a minute. So let's progress. Where are we? This. So apart from once we now created or designed our primary ledger, and we be able to assign it and create the legal entity and assign the legal entity to primary ledger. Also, we'll go ahead and define a few other things like operating unit. Okay. You can call it unit or units. Okay. Once we create operating unit, we'll look at something like workday calendar, workday calendar. Okay. This is number 16. So number 17, we look on cost groups. By 18, we look at something like before we go ahead on defining other things, we learn a program. There's a program called duplicate seed data. So we run a program called duplicate seed data. So these are programs that we usually learn after defining all the above to make sure that the system is in order. It's like checkup, the internal checkup, which will be done by the system through this program we call replicate seed data. Then after that, we will define things like inventory organization, can call it invent org. Okay. We'll define things like journal sources, get things like journal sources. Number 20. 121, we look at things like profile, file options. So let's first of all get to hit on this. We continue with where we left yesterday. So in our today's class, we will look at something we call primary ledger. If we want to complete our primary ledger, and through completion of our primary ledger, there are several setup we need to do. Some data, connectivity hitch, that's why the system dropped. So what I'm saying is that we need to query our primary ledger, the one that is in progress, not yet finished. So we click on, or we provide the first 3 digit or values of our primary ledger, the prefix, and click on go. So this is the name of our primary ledger. Type is primary ledger. Associated primary ledger is the same. Then the status is on progress. You can see it's, if you point on the status icon, is showing you it's on progress. Then what you're supposed to come here and do is update accounting options. Click on update accounting option. Once you click on accounting, update accounting option, now you will come here under this page, whereby it has some heading, accounting options, and the name which is under accounting option is sub primary ledger. So you don't do anything on this. You don't need to touch anything on show key notation. Go ahead. There is another sub topic or subheader, which is by the name legal entities. So here as well, you don't need to do anything, because our primary ledger is still yet to be completed, so that we can assign the legal entity. So what happens is, like I was talking yesterday or explaining yesterday, that you'll have several options whereby you can be able to define under the primary ledger. So some of it is the ledger options, reporting currency, balancing segment, value assignment, subledger accounting options, and sequencing. So all these, and now the secondary ledger, if there is any that has been defined, you can be able to reach them on this. So because now we are in the progress, once you have opened this page, you're supposed to come under ledger options. See, we have ledger options here. And description is define and update the journal process options for your ledger. So what you're supposed to come is, you can see the status here is saying it is in progress. So you're supposed to come and click on update, this icon here. It is update. Once you click it on like that, the system will take you to update ledger definition. On this page, there is some common information you'll find that you provided earlier and some you didn't provide. So one of it that you provided is the ledger name. You can see here we have standard information is ledger name. We have sub primary ledger. Under this one, this is the name that we provided when we are first of all creating the or defining the accounting structure name or accounting structure, accounting option structure. This is the first stage when we are defining it. Then we have the short name of it, whereby we have sub primary. There is some numbers here, 1735, and some currency definition here, or currency representation, or currency code, whatever you would like to call it. So what happens is that in the creation of the primary ledger, the system takes the ledger name and it doesn't pick the whole of it. Like for instance, in this case, to pick sub primary, then added a specific system number related to this ledger. So this is part of the ledger number. Then it assigns the currency of this ledger. So that's the short name of this ledger name, or this primary ledger name. And you can see these are the mandatory fields because they have some asterisks. So what is supposed to do, this information has to be provided. But now the system is picking it automatically from what we provided under the ledger name. We provided the currency, and then here down you can see we have the currency itself, and then we have chart of accounts, the one that we selected. Then we have the accounting calendar. You can see the accounting calendar here. So the 4 C's goes hand in hand. The accounting standard, the accounting method, it's here down. So, and also it's mandatory. You have to provide it. So again, the system goes ahead and from the calendar that we have attached, it picks the first ever open period. So the first ever open period is the first period in that calendar. So the system is assuming that's the period that should be open. There is a session whereby we look at how to open and close periods. So that's why the system here it's popping information on open and closed. I mean the first ever open period, meaning a certain period should be open at a go. So in this case, the system is considering the first period of this calendar, which is January 2024. Then with that, there's nothing you're supposed to provide here. There's no any configuration we need to do. Although there are some that we may come to as we learn other things. Like for instance, there is entered currency balancing account. That one is for other application. It's not for what we are trying to achieve right now. So what you are supposed to do right now is to click on next. You're supposed to click on next. Once you clicked on next, you'll come under ledger options. So this ledger options is what we need to provide. And basically, we are only providing the mandatory field or the required, like this one, retained earning account. So in this case, The retained earning account, we had not defined it when we were defining the other accounts, but because I came to learn and remember that we'll require it here, I've gone to the definition of segment values, and I've defined or created an account by the name retained earnings. So that's what we are supposed to select and provide it here. And again, these are now other configuration or other options, ledger options that we may need to enable in later sessions. For instance, when we are learning about the approval of journals, we will need to enable this. When we are learning about intra-company balance, we will enable this. Enable journal entry for tax, we will enable this. So journal reversal criteria set, if there is any criteria that has been set for reversing journal, we will come and provide it here. There is currency transaction options. All this depends on the nature of the client you are implementing for and at the time that you are implementing. So in this case, under ledger options, we only provide retained earnings for the purpose of making this ledger complete. So in our case, we'll click on this, and it will pick retained earnings in the chart of account that we have assigned in this primary ledger. Remember, we created 3 segments. You see, the system remembers you have only created 3 segments. Those 3 segments are this one now, you can see here. The company, the cost centers, and accounts. So what we usually do is to select each and every field. This is the segment, but now we'll be selecting the segment value or the code, and this is how we do it. So if we click on the search engine, we click on go, you can be able to see all the 3 segment values we created under company. Okay, so we have 3 companies. We have insurance, we have banking, and we have agents. So on these, we can use any combination of any account. For instance, we can take any company account here. Like for instance, we can take insurance. I'll show you about the quick select. This is quick select. So once you click on that, it will provide the code here and the name here down. So this is the name that we were providing in the description. This is what we call the code description or account description. So the same case, we come here down. Here we also click on search engine, and click on go. So these are the cost centers that we defined. So you can be able now to select or quick select any. You can select any combination between company and cost centers. But when it comes to account, remember here, it is retained earnings account. So here you have to come and provide the retained earnings. So you come and click on go. We created a number of accounts, but this one for retained earnings, I've just created it some few other minutes ago because we had not defined it when doing this. I hope you can remember all the process. So we quick select. So what happens now? We have this kind of, call it code combination. As far as we have this kind of code combination, if we click on search, the system will tell us there is no such code combination. So what happens is that you are supposed to come and click on create. But now our create function here, it is disabled, meaning you cannot be able to create this code combination. You have to always create a code combination if it is not existing. If it is not existing, you have to create it. If it is existing, you will come and search it and it will display here down. If it is not, if it has not been created before, you'll need to come and create it here. But now our create function is not enabled. So how do we enable it? So we go to the application, Java Forms, go to navigation is setup, financials, flex field, key, segments. So here we query our structure name. Remember we have our substructure name, or what we call it, our organization structure name. So through querying, we can provide can click on general ledger to provide the application and title. The application is general ledger and title is accounting flex field. So once we provide the application and the flex field title, you come here and search again. You now search the structure name. Our name is sub. So this is our structure name. You know, for the company that we are trying to learn with or to implement for. So for this case, there is this allow dynamic inserts. So you can see right now it is unchecked, meaning it cannot allow you to do the code combination. So we have to come here and check it. Once you check it, you save. The system will give you a note compiling flex field definition. You click on OK. System will give you a note. The flex field was compiled successfully. Submitted request to generate flex field view GL code combination. So you see now it's talking about GL code combination of what I'm talking about. So it's telling you it has given you that kind of capability. You can compile as well. Okay. And you can learn the program view request. Let me hide this. You can view request, find, and see like the flex field view generator has been compiled successfully without error. It's a normal status. So once that's done, now we can go back to our accounting option page and try now to create our code combination. So we will close this and try to search again. Yeah, think the code was 10. You can type the code manually if you can remember. The system will pull it. For cost center, I can't remember it was what. But we can put anything, like for instance 100. I think it was supposed to be 3 digits. Yeah, or we can even put it 200. Select this. Then for accounting, it's supposed to be 24,800. Select it. So let's search and see if it will give us the active. So it's still not active. Let's try to completely go back. Can completely go back to accounting option. Sometimes the system might require you to even log out. But let's try and see. So our ledger name is SAF, primary ledger. Go to update accounting option. Click on update. Click on next. Let's try to pull it again. We have 200. We have 24,800. So let's log out. Can log out and log in again. Sometimes it takes sometimes to update that one. So most probably we might actually find it having updated by tomorrow. Remember that that's a system gap. But mostly that's what happens sometimes. Can close this. Ledger setup is first of all check whether allow dynamic about financial text field key segment. Query the application. So allow dynamic inserts is enabled. So what we need is to go to accounting setup manager. It might not be able to show so that's normal. It takes some time to update. The gap that Oracle is supposed to have fixed. So go to update accounting options. Update. Click on next. Let's try to pull it. Still not active. So it's not active, but that's the procedure. That's how we do it. We might need to be forced to check on it tomorrow. But meanwhile, we can look on other things. So we'll pick up tomorrow on that. It's only, I think it's the only basic item or feature we are supposed to provide. Then we go to the next level and finish. That is the advanced option, where we don't provide much. We don't even provide anything under advanced option. Then that will be the third stage. Then the fourth one is just review to check whether the information you have provided is as per the requirement, or it's correct and should be compiled to close the or to complete the primary ledger. So with that said, let's shift gear to legal entity, because our next step was to create legal entity. So this one is not yet done. So under create legal entity, if you happen to come to accounting setup, click on it like that and say okay. System is giving you some warning. So when we are defining the primary ledger, we go with the accounting setup option. But when we are creating legal entity, we have the tab here for legal entities. So we are supposed to, so where we got stuck is under define accounting options. Then after that, we complete accounting setup. So in our case, that one is the stage that we'll pick up from tomorrow once the system updates. Then from here, we go to the legal entity tab. So under legal entity tab, you will land or will take you to the legal entities window or page, whereby you can do some simple search. This meaning like you can search for an existing legal entity. For instance, I think if I type Kenya, there's some several legal entity I've defined for Kenya, even with other instances. But now because it's Vision, the one that Oracle has provided for learning, you'll find all that information will be pulled. You see, I have established several, like 2 or like 3 legal entity for the purpose of just learning. So we have Nairobi and Malivenda solution. This is for the purpose of learning and practice. So those is for the purpose, if you want to probably do something or update, That's how you query or you provide the parameters above here, and you click on go. Then you put the information that you had previously defined. In our case, we need a new legal entity because we are defining for a different business or company. So we are supposed to come and click on create legal entity. So if I may clear, it means like there are no parameters to put this data, and still I can click on legal entity to get a flash page. So with this, you're supposed to, assuming like you are doing the implementation for a flash client, you're supposed to come here and click on create legal entity. So once you click on create legal entity, you will get this page. Under this page, here you're supposed to provide some information. Basically, we provide the most basic information as you get it from the client. So this information, you don't have to stress your mind trying to think where you get all this information. In our case, it will be for test purposes, and but now for implementation purpose, you have to be specific with the client and get to have that information correct. So territory is Kenya, and it's defined. Okay. Then legal entity name, can say Safaricom, LLP. Okay. So then organization name, can say Safaricom Limited. Then legal entity identifier, like it could be a name. If the name that is named under the organization is different, you can make this information from how you get it from the user or from the business. You have to capture it specifically this way, because sometimes you find the organization name and the legal entity identifier are completely different. So you might find like maybe when it comes to reporting, Safaricom reports as Safaricom Group, for instance, Safaricom Group. Okay. Then you'll find maybe there's a registration number for maybe a company. Okay. Test LG 1234. Okay. Or you can call it SAF. SAF registration 1234. Okay. So legal address, you'll find I think we defined the legal address. One is Nairobi something. I think Nairobi all. Yeah, this is the one. Okay. So all these you'll pull from the system. I mean, the legal address you'll pull from the system because it will have been defined before by the HRMS team. So once that one is provided, you come and click on apply. So the system is telling you you have successfully created a new legal entity, Safaricom LLP. So what happens next, if you come here and search with maybe country, let's start with country, Kenya, and select it and click on go. It will be among the legal entities that have been defined under this country. And there it goes. We have the Safaricom LLP as a legal entity. Legal entity identifier is Safaricom Group. Okay. If you happen also to come and search it with name, can go. You see, it's also populating. So once you have defined the legal entity, if you happen now to come and, for instance, you see now we have these view details. You can click on view details. Just a minute. Select it and click on create establishment. It's already there. So what I want us to do is to add more information, because once you create a legal entity, you have to assign balancing segment. The next step is to assign balancing segment on it. And on the same, you can either start with assigning balancing segment, or you go ahead and first of all assign it to the primary ledger. So for instance, if we go back to accounting setups, and we search for our primary ledger, we want to assign this legal entity to the primary ledger. So we click on update accounting option. Once we have it like this, you see here, the ledger option is just ledger options. So what we will do, we want to assign a legal entity to this sub-primary ledger. So the moment we will assign a legal entity to this primary ledger, this name will change, and now it will lead as sub-primary ledger. So note that very well. It's just a way of counter-checking your work. So when we want to assign a legal entity to primary ledger, we are supposed to come under legal entities and press on or select add legal entity. So click on add legal entity. Again, you click on add legal entity. So the search and select add legal entity window will show. Here you can provide the name if you remember it, and click on go. This is the name that we have defined for our legal entity. So this is our legal entity, Safaricom LLP. Then you select. Once you have selected like that, click on apply. Okay. Once you have clicked on apply, now there is one step that is pending on our end of adding the retained earnings account under primary ledger. So until then, that's when our primary ledger name will become complete. Once it has become complete, now this name will move from here and it will lead as it will come here as the SAF primary ledger. But now in our status, we are still under progress. Another important thing when you're defining, for you to have it complete, you have to add balancing segment, at least one balancing segment at the legal entity. And this is where you do it. So you click on update balancing segment values. Remember the balancing segment values on how we came up with them. Okay. So click on apply. That way. There is add balancing segment value here. So add balancing segment value, click on this. Here, if you click on go, the system will pull all the balancing segment values that we have. That is 10, 20, and 30. Let's see. These are the one. So here you can just select any, or if you want, you select all, but one is enough. It's only required with at least a minimum of one balancing segment value. So you select one and you check one checkbox for one you will prefer, then you click on select. So once that one has been selected, you can see it's here down. We have balancing segment value. And there are some times whereby you might find like maybe you need to end date. You see, by now the system is taking system date. Okay, it is taking system date by default, but you can change based on when you want it to look as if that's when it's supposed to be start to be operative or to be used in the system. So once you have selected that, you can click on apply. So you see now we have balancing segment value here of 10. So that's how we add the balancing segment value, and that's how we assign it to the primary ledger. Let's try to update our primary ledger retained earnings and see whether it could have updated the allow dynamic inserts option. I think we have 10, 200, 24, 800. So there's no such combination. Let's see whether we can create. Still, we cannot create. The system have not updated this. So that's how we create the legal entity, the primary ledger, and we assign legal entity to the primary ledger. This one we might need to wait until probably tomorrow for the system to update, so that you can be able to see that functionality. So far, do you have any question?
No, no question.
All right. So because of that, because I feel like we don't need to proceed without having seen how that one will behave, to avoid confusion and leaving you hanging, I may request we go a session to go up to that level. Then we pick up tomorrow from here once the system has updated the allow dynamic inserts. Is that okay?
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, I know you have mastered even the navigation. You can check with on your end. You have the logins, you have the credentials, right?
Yes, I have the logins. I think for the navigation, it won't be quite challenging for me. I think I've been doing it for the past 1 year. Been using Oracle products. So only that I haven't gone much into details as like setups.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. Okay. All right, so we catch up tomorrow.